Hi everyone, I'm Karen Sydney and welcome to the Women Who Create Interview series. The essence of the interviews is to help inspire women, giving them new direction, and they're aimed at awakening women's appetite for more. My purpose is to highlight how you can have the life you want, and that listening to experts here on this series might be the catalyst that sparks changes for your life. Today's guest is from Sydney, Australia. She is an acclaimed author of 3 books, is the world's leading business mentor for corporate trainers, and is a respected international authority in the corporate training industry. She has personally trained more than 35,000 people worldwide and has been at the helm of WeTrain for 22 years and is the founder of the Trainers Ultimate Tool. So, welcome Judith Wilson. It is such a privilege to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Karen. Pleasure to be here.
So, I thought maybe we could start and you could just tell us about your books that you've published and who they were most written for and where our listeners can purchase them from.
So I have 3 books, the first of which was written a long time ago now and is about professional public speaking. So my first book was for everyone who really wants to be able to stand in front of an audience and make a great impression. I'm a firm believer that if you're going to go to the trouble to prepare a presentation, and if your audience are going to go to the trouble of being there to listen to you, you might as well make it the very best that you can. And I feel too many people just go, ho-hum, it'll be all right on the day. I'm sure after the first few minutes I'll kick in and I'll be fine. And I don't think that's the impression we want to have when we come across. So the first book is The Inside Secrets of Powerful Presenters Revealed, how to get enthusiastic applause, even a standing ovation every time you speak. So that's what I think we should be doing. And that's for everyone who wants to speak. And then my second book is about the training business, and it's called Become a Millionaire Working Just 2 days a week, because in the training world, you literally can deliver training for 2 days a week and make exceedingly good money. So it's a wonderful, wonderful industry to be in. And then the third book is called Training Works, Better People, Better Bottom Line. And I was thrilled to have the trainers that work with me each contribute a different chapter on a different area of soft skills that they specialized in. And so we put this book together, and for corporates and businesses that need to know what their staff need to be doing from every aspect, whether it be time management, whether it be presentation skills, whether it be customer service, managing difficult people, managing stress, all of that. There is a soft skill chapter in the Training Works book.
Such valuable books to have in your library, and as you say, like for a speaker, if you want to be a speaker or a trainer, there's something there for everybody. And as you said, when you get up there and speak, and people are given their time to come and listen, you want to be the absolute best. That speaking and communication is great skills to have, isn't it? Something you certainly specialise in.
I do.
Also, I read, and I love this, and I know so many women can relate to this and would so love it, the lifestyle. And you said briefed on that about in your books, that how you can do this if you're a trainer, but you said that you have achieved the lifestyle of your dreams. Traveling the world with your family, helping trainers, sharing your expertise, and visiting the best restaurants on earth. And I love that, and I thought so many people will be able to relate to that. So that's what being a trainer has allowed you to be able to achieve.
Well, indeed, because I have my own training business, it means that really my time is my own, and I can pick and choose when I want to deliver training to organizations. And the beauty is, unless it's a conference that has a particular date and they're asking for a date, I can give them any dates that I'm free. When it is a conference, they're often planning a year in advance. So they're giving me dates. It's not like they want something next Tuesday. They're giving me a lot of notice. So that's great. But much more often for corporate training, they say to us, when can you do? When would you be able to deliver? And sometimes they say things like, oh, we don't like Mondays and Fridays, but if you could do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, any of those would be fine. And then I can literally pick and choose that I'll do certain dates, or, oh, I'm already doing a bit much that week, I won't give another date. And it's fantastic for women who are mums, because with the school holidays, we can literally pick and choose dates that we give out. And if we're wanting to be with our kids during the school holidays, we simply don't give out those dates. So it's a real blessing. And, you know, if you're one of those mums that wants to be at swimming on a Monday morning, and I'm one of those mums that can be at every class assembly and every athletics carnival simply because I can. And I love that freedom that I pick and choose when to work and how much I want to work.
And I think that is like so important, isn't it? Because it's one of the things that women struggle with, that balancing, trying to balance children and family, all those different hats and your work, and that guilt they feel when they're at work away from the children, or if they're with the children, they've got their work on their mind. And so that is a very important part of a woman's life, isn't it, when they're working? So that you've been able to achieve this is really great. So you know, you have got 2 small children. So like, how did you manage to balance this so well?
I don't know if I do balance it so well. I don't know if any woman balances it so well. I think we do the best that we can. And there are certainly times when you do feel torn and, you know, your kids need you or your business needs you. And one of the ways that I have been able to very authentically legitimize this is the belief that I really am raising my girls to see a competent woman running a business and working and giving value to the marketplace and to corporates. And I think that that is very valid. I'm very proud that my girls see me in action, and they know that from time to time, you know, mum does have to go to work, or if I'm speaking at a conference on a Saturday, I try not to do that too often. And I certainly have boundaries of when I turn the laptop off and that's it, I've done work for the day, or not doing a string of weekend work or anything like that. So I certainly have my boundaries, which I have found very helpful. But I really do believe that I'm raising strong women who can do anything that they like. And if they want to be entrepreneurs and lead an entrepreneurial life, that's great. So I certainly want them to see that. So yeah, there's a little bit of guilt, but not too much, because I think I'm doing good at the same time.
And just exactly what you're saying, I think it's really great to be able to role model that to our children and show them that, yes, you can be anything you want to be. And it's really, and they've got you as that role model to see that it is achievable. And that's very helpful to them. And the other thing you're saying, setting your boundaries, I think that is a great thing as well, as I do hear it said often, and from children, that they want to talk to their mother, but they're always on their laptop or their phone, and even when it's supposed to be their time, they look up. And so, yes, I know it is hard, but setting those boundaries and sticking to them, it makes it more achievable, and everybody's happy. You know, you can get to the happier place, can't you?
Agreed. Absolutely.
And we have technology, like it's absolutely great, and it's turned the world around for us, just like we're doing today. You can be in Australia and I'm in New Zealand. It's also, it does have an off switch, and you're in control of it, and so you have to set it up to not run your life as well, and as you turn it off.
Of course, of course.
And so, can you tell us some about the Trainers Ultimate Toolkit program? So you're the founder of that. So how did you set about doing this, and who's it for?
So I have had a corporate training business for 22 years. So I've always gone into corporates and run soft skills business with them and training. And friends often asked me and said, gosh, how do you do it? And what do you teach them? And how does it work? Because they saw this kind of glamorous, well-paid lifestyle that I was leading, and I got to travel and do exciting things. So a few of my friends sort of said, will you share with us, what do you do, how that, and I've been given advice for a long time. And part of me thought at the very beginning, oh, I'm a bit nervous that perhaps this is something that just works for me. What if it's only something that I find naturally works and other people can't do it? So at the very beginning, when they were the guinea pigs, I was hoping like mad that the skills were transferable. And I'm very happy to say that they were. And I was so relieved when I realized it's simply a system that people follow to copy the success that I've had, and now other trainers around the world have had as well. And so the Trainers Ultimate Toolkit really is an entire program online that people can learn how to become a really lucrative corporate trainer, because it's not good enough to just have the gift of the gab and be able to chat and hope for the best, because there's one thing to be a good trainer, there's another side of things to run the business of training. So this is the only program in the world of its kind that mixes both the how to do professional speaking and training with the marketing and business side. So it's cracking the corporate code, how to get those clients, how to get paid the big money that you do deserve, and how to position yourself with credibility. So it's a complete package, and it's for people who want to get into training, as well as people who are already trainers and great trainers, but haven't been able to monetize like they would have liked to.
And that happens so often, doesn't it? People are very experienced and skilled, but the money is a factor that eludes them. And the freedom that you've been able to have for your lifestyle, they still have themselves bogged down that they don't have choices in their life. So this would be very valuable in teaching them all those skills.
Exactly.
And so it's online, so you'll be delivering this worldwide. Anyone can...
It's worldwide, yes. So the program is at www.trainersultimatetoolkit.com, and there's a video of me on the homepage describing who this is for. So it really is, if you already enjoy people, you enjoy working with people, and you've got a bit of a gift of the gab, so you don't mind speaking in front of a group, things like that. This isn't for people who could think of nothing worse than doing that and hate the idea. This really is for people who already know that they've got something to give and just need to be shown how to get it out there. But one of the things that I love is that there's no particular personality type who has to do this. And by that I mean, I have some trainers who are beautifully, extroverted, and they're life and soul of the room, and they got great energy and they get great results. And I also have trainers who are softly spoken and the expert in a particular subject, and the group hang off every word that they say. So you don't have to be a kind of crazy extrovert person. You have to enjoy imparting knowledge to others, but you certainly don't have to be an extrovert, as some people think.
So, so you've been doing this for 22 years. So this means you must have been very young when you started. So how could people get that kind of confidence that you had, that you were able to just go and do this?
Honestly, it was such a blessing that I completely fell into doing this. And it's a funny story, because when I went to university, I was studying journalism, and I joined the Toastmasters Club, Toastmasters International, and I loved being part of the club and made some great friends. And after university, I went back to Zimbabwe, where I'm from, where home was, and I thought, okay, now what am I going to do? I'm going to have to make some money while I wait for this amazing kind of journalism job to land in my lap. And I waited a bit and waited a few more weeks and nothing happened. And I thought, oh, this job isn't materializing like I thought I would. I'm going to have to do something to make some pocket money. And because I'd been a member of Toastmasters for so many years, I thought, what I'll do is I'll go into a private school in Zimbabwe, in Harare, and I'll offer my services to the kids who want to learn public speaking. And I went to the headmaster of the school and I said to him, you know, can I speak to the boys one assembly and see if any of them are interested? And he said, yeah, sure. We don't offer it at school, so it can be an extra activity, and it's between you and the parents, you know, nothing to do with the school paying you. And he said I could have a classroom every Wednesday afternoon. And I thought, great. And so I spoke at assembly and I told these kids to go away and tell their parents that this was a great thing and I could teach them how to speak in public. And I rocked up the next Wednesday and I had no idea whether this was going to be a success, whether I would have anyone there. I was like, well, here goes nothing. Let's just see what happens. And I arrived and there was a queue right the way from the classroom all the way down the road. And these kids were standing there with their cash in hand saying, my parents think this is a good idea. We should do this. And it was a 6-week program that I said, I'm going to teach you a different area of presenting each week. And I had typed up this little brochure that I literally just stapled at the top, and it was a few pages, and it said, week 1 we're going to learn how to stand, and week 2 we're going to learn how to use our voice, and week 3, you know. And it was very basic because I didn't have a clue. I literally didn't even know what it should look like or if anyone had ever done this before. I was simply going, let's just see if it works. And I think a big advantage now, thinking back, is that I didn't know what I didn't know. So I didn't know to be scared of anything because I was like, what could happen? This is going to be fine. And I was really, really young, you know, so I was just turned 21 when I was doing this. And I taught the kids and I said, tuck your shirt in, sit down, pay attention, do this. And it worked well. And then I had been going for about 4 weeks. And one evening at home, the phone rang and I answered it. And this gentleman introduced himself as one of these boys' dads. And I thought, oh, golly, now what? And he said, my son's shown me what you've been teaching him. And I said, yes. And he said, and I've looked at the little brochure booklet that you've done. And I said, yes. And he said, I'd like you to come in and teach my board. And he was the CEO of Johnson & Johnson. And that literally was how it began. And I didn't even know what a board was. And I thought, oh, well, how hard can it be? You know, I've done all the hard work. And I literally put the Johnson & Johnson logo on the front of the same notes that I did for the boys because I knew nothing else. And I went in and I taught these gentlemen who had 40 and 50 years experience, and I taught them in the same way. I said, tuck your shirt in, sit up straight. You're going to have to practice that again. And they absolutely loved it. And I was so lucky that then I was able to go to other organizations and say, I've trained Johnson & Johnson. Do you want the training? And that literally was how I fell into it 22 years ago.
What a fantastic story. Oh,
Indeed.
that
Indeed.
is so amazing.
I'm glad for others that it doesn't have to be that, you know, unknown and that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other. Now there's so much advice and wisdom out there that it makes it so much easier for people to follow a system to success. I think that's really good.
As you say, you've got the strategies in place and your system, and they just have to do it step by step and follow it, and it certainly makes it easier if you don't have that confidence to just step up and do it. But I'm a great believer in just beginning. You know, you don't have to know everything. If you wait, you can talk yourself out of it for years, where you could have had years of success while you're going and thinking you're not good enough and you haven't got it perfect and you haven't And so I love that story, though, you just had your bit of paper that listed, because it is true. You don't have to have it all perfect. Just get out there and start. And as you said, now with your systems, there is no excuses, because they can go and have a system it all done for them. But please, everybody out there, don't wait. Get out and do what you want, because life's just passing you by every day.
Isn't it, Jeff?
You know, people don't know what you know. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You're going out there delivering something they want and need and changing their life. So believe in what you've got to offer. Oh, that's such an inspirational story. It's like, so where did you go from there? So was that you kept in at home? When did you move to Australia?
Yeah, so that was in Zimbabwe, and then the business over the next few years was going really, really well, and I was loving it, and I was learning so much, but the country wasn't. So I realized that I couldn't stay long term in Zimbabwe, and I thought, wow, you know, what are my options? And I could move to London, because I was still early 20s, and so I moved to London and I started my training business in London. And the great thing there again was that I didn't really know that or think that they would do it any differently in London. I was very much of a viewpoint that people are people and the skills they're going to need are the same. And I was very lucky, because all of the research I had done in Zimbabwe, when I went to the British Council Library, when I studied John Cleese and his video arts videos, I learned as much as I possibly could from that. I didn't really realize that was all very English and British and cutting edge anyhow. So I had been studying the very British way. So I found when I went to London, what I had been teaching and what they were teaching were completely the same. And I was really lucky, because I was, you know, a big fish in a very little pond in Zimbabwe. And so that confidence carried me, because I'd got great results in Zimbabwe, that when I went to London, I carried that same sort of confidence of, you're people and I can just work with people, and hey, we've had a lot of fun in training before, so here's what I can do. But that's not to say that it all went swimmingly well every time. There were certain things that I had to learn, and of course I can laugh about it now. One of the crazy things that I tell people who think that it was all just amazing and I was a brilliant trainer right from the beginning, it's certainly not true. And I remember one of the very first meetings that I went to in London was a very posh legal firm, and it was in Mayfair in London, which I didn't even know was such a fancy area. I just rocked up to the meeting, and there were 3 of these partners in the legal firm, and I was still trying to get used to the accents in the UK, because being from Zimbabwe, I hadn't heard so many different accents, and whether we had Scottish people in the room and Irish people in the room and all of these different accents, and they were talking really fast, and they were all speaking, and they were talking about Fiona. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take notes. I know to include Fiona, but I didn't know who Fiona was. So I just kept writing Fiona down. And they were saying Fiona meets with clients, Fiona does this, Fiona does that. So I was like, okay. And I got the gig, and they said, right, come back a few weeks later and you're going to deliver the training. And I worked hard to customize this program for them. And I thought, I'm going to slide in Fiona just so that they know I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to use it. It's all going to be good. And so I started the training day, and I slid in Fiona this, Fiona that. And in the morning tea, the senior partner came over to me and he said, I'm really enjoying your training, but who is Fiona? Why do you keep saying Fiona? And I said, you know, Fiona who meets with clients, Fiona who bills out every 7 minutes, things like this. And he said, no, that's a fee earner. There's no Fiona here. And I hadn't even got a clue what a fee earner in a legal practice was. Oh,
funny.
many years ago.
Yeah, so remember that, everybody. If you speak somewhere with all these different languages and the way people talk, you might not be picking up exactly what you think they're saying. Oh, that is funny. Oh, well, I bet you got lots of stories like that along the way. And as you say, that's a good point to give to everybody. Yes, nothing ever just goes absolutely smooth. Everybody has challenges and things they've got to overcome, but that's how you learn, isn't it? And that's how you grow, and you surmount that and think, that's never happening to me again. I'll do. So we all have challenges, and you might look when you go out there in the public arena like you've got it all together and everything's just sweet and it's easy for you, but it's not for everybody has hard times. It's just your professionalism that you can put that across, that yes, it's been easy and you've done it all, and you smoothly deliver like it is. But so it's like really fun to listen to these stories. We'll be so able to relate to them. I think our stories really humanize it, don't they, and make it people say, yes, we're all, as you said, people are people.
They really are, indeed.
So have you, in this training industry, have you found that it's either harder or easier for men or women? Is there like a difference in your training, or?
Well, I do. It's one industry that, surprisingly enough, is more women than men. I think both can do it equally as well, but I have far more female trainers than I do have male trainers. And I don't know if that goes back to sort of teaching and people coming out of teaching. They tend to be predominantly women and getting into training. But it's a great industry in that it's one of those rare ones that is more women than men. And it's also great because it's rare in that you get seen with more credibility the older you get. So it's not one of those industries that only want you young, and as soon as you're kind of washed up, they toss you out. It's a great industry where being really young is actually against you. And as soon as people know that you've got some of that experience, you've got something to teach, they immediately take you with more credibility. So I found it very hard in my 20s. I had to be extra good and extra credible and work extra hard because I was up against this kind of you don't have the experience thing. Whereas as soon as you get some maturity, people certainly in this industry take you more seriously.
Right. Now, I know that, you know, this has been very successful for you and you're living the lifestyle. So you would go out there and highly recommend to train as a trainer, that it gives the ultimate results to people and they can have the life you've found it to be. For so people that have gone through your program, the same results?
They do get amazing results for what they want. You know, I love the flexibility that it has in that some people want to get into training to really get lucrative and to work hard and make money. And the beauty is that that money is all for them. You know, as hard as they work, they're not making some bank out there wealthy or anything like that if they're an employee. It's for themselves. And I love that if you work, it's for you and nobody else. But I also find that I have people who maybe don't want to work crazy hours. They only want to do a day or two, or young mums might not want to do heaps of work, or retirees might go, well, I'm retired, but I've got so much to give and I've learned so much over the span of my career that I'd love to do, 3 or 4 days a month or whatever it might be. And so that's lovely that success can mean a lot of different things to different people. And some people love to travel. Like as soon as I say, we can get a national rollout and you can travel to each of the different, cities and regional areas, they adore that. So that's what's great.
I'm sure they have. Yes, so what you're just saying then, like for mums that don't want to work every day, well, it's a role that you can keep changing, because as your children get older, you can increase the amount that you're working, and again, and the same with retirees, they get to choose how much they do, and so that's a really great lifestyle to so many different people, isn't it?
It's great. But you also mentioned technology earlier, and technology is great because we're moving into very much blended learning. So blended learning means that some of the programs can be live face-to-face in front of a group of about 12 in a corporate we would usually work with. But blended learning means that you can do exactly this. You can jump on webinars, you can jump on Zoom, you can do follow-up training sessions with anyone who needs perhaps extra coaching. So you can start to do coaching as well as training together, is great. And then, of course, there's also the conferences where you're delivering large conferences, and those can be by blended learning as well. So you could have a conference like this to a huge room of people, or you could fly in and be live in front of the group. So there's a lot of flexibility and options.
Exactly what we're doing now, they could deliver their training program like this.
They could. And very often when we have a national company that might have, so we've just done last week, we did a rollout for a very large home builder, and they've got people across Australia. They couldn't bring everyone in together, so they set aside the time and everyone was on their computers, and we designed it specifically to be an online training session, and that went very well.
Oh yes, isn't it? The options are just so huge, and it's like, so a mother can be just working from home delivering her training program, and same with a retiree. It's amazing. No, great. Now, I read where your company, like you say, that you don't just have off-the-shelf programs. It's just not a cookie-cutter thing that is for everybody. And I really like that, because we all have different wants and needs, and you can't just do that one set thing, which a lot of programs are, aren't they? They just, this is the way it is, and you're meant to fit it in, whereas you're designing this to fit in with people's lifestyles and what they actually want.
I think it's important that people start asking themselves the questions of what they really do want, because I think often we're bumbling along not really clear, and I'm a great believer in designing life the way you want it to be. Too many of us sort of think that, you know, you go to school, you leave school, you find a job, and you work for X amount of years going through the motions simply because you have to, and that's the only thing until you retire and then we die. It's all terribly depressing and awful, and I certainly don't want people to think like that. So yes, we definitely tailor for both of the businesses. So the WeTrain business, the courses get tailored for the companies that we're delivering to. So if they're a bank, we use their banking terminology, and we find out, you know, do they call them customers? Do they call them clients? Things like that, so that we're making it really relevant to the group in corporate. And then for the Trainers Ultimate Toolkit program, we want people to niche into key areas of their expertise, because they are far better off being a specialist in a small area, something that they really are interested about and passionate about, and then being that guru in that subject, rather than a soft skills trainer who says, I can train everything from time management to leadership to sales to presentation skills to telephone perfection. That's not the way to position yourself. So we want to work with people to really create industry experts, because then, of course, you can charge top dollar as the expert. It's like going to a GP or to a specialist. When you go to the GP, you're only prepared to pay, you know, whatever for the GP. But when they say you now have to see a specialist, then you're not going to say, oh, well, it depends how much it costs. You're going to pay to see the specialist. And what's important is once you see the specialist, you're going to do what the specialist tells you to. You're not going to shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, they suggest I give up smoking, or whatever it is that we need to be doing. So that's how I help people really become credible and position themselves properly within the marketplace.
Well, that's very important, isn't it? And it is to get that credibility. And plus, when you're working from your expertise, well, you've got a lot more confidence and self-belief in what you're doing. And you know that you want to change people's lives. So you want to deliver what you're passionate about, and you become an expert because that is something you're passionate about.
Indeed. And being able to jump out of bed every morning and go, I get to do this. I love what I do. I get to do this. And when you're an expert in a particular area, you're passionate to keep learning more and more. So it's never, it's always fresh. It's never dull. You're constantly learning. And you're only expected to be a guru in that particular area. They're not going to ask you hundreds of other things that you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know. Because that's not going to come up when you're there to run the topic that you're talking about.
That takes that fear away also, is that you're going to be asked things you don't know anything about. And I think I just love what you said then, and that is what is really important to me, and that's the point of these interview series, is that people get up each morning absolutely knowing they're going to love the day ahead, because I think that's how you should be living your life. That you love every day, and that you're excited to get up, than living a life like you described earlier. You go to school, you get a job, you just, and this is how your life's going to end up. It is totally boring, whereas you want to be on fire and absolutely loving every day. So to finish, is there any points that we've missed out that you want to get across, or anything else you needed to say?
One thing that I'm often asked, particularly as a wrap up when I do these interviews, is people tend to want to know what I would do differently if I had my time again, and how would I what 3 things would I do differently. So I tend to tell them that right at the beginning, I tried to do far too much and too many things in my business at the beginning. I mean, I was ridiculous. I tried to design my own business cards and knew absolutely nothing about business cards. I tried to, design my own website and what needed to go on it, and learn things that were completely crazy. A, I had no interest in it, and B, I seriously didn't know what I was doing in any of those areas. So if I had my time again, it would be to say, stick with what you're good at, stick with what you're passionate about and know, and then there's no excuse not to outsource now. It's not as if you have to hire someone at exorbitant cost for, permanent work. You can use freelancers, you can outsource, and it can be really, really cheap, and you're using other people's expertise, and that's the way forward. So stick with what you're good at and allow other people to be good at as well. If I were to do something else differently, I would have got a mentor long ago. I only got a mentor when I moved to Australia after running my business for 5 years in London, and I was lacking the focus and the direction of the next level. And I think a mentor takes you there. So that, for me, I constantly have them now, and I'm stepping up because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to learn from others. And the third thing, I would have embraced the concept of ease and speed far quicker. I think I used to have the mindset that it perhaps took a long time, to get established in business takes a long time. I had this idea that writing your first book took more than a year. And so, of course, my first book took more than a year because I had a mindset that was how things were. And then for my second book, it's part of a series, and I was invited to be an author in the series. And for various reasons and work commitments, I had 4 days to write the book, and I wrote it in 4 days. Yes, it's a small little book. It's not a Goliath big thing. And yes, I drank through a straw to keep me fed for 18 hours a day for the 4 days. Yes, it nearly killed me, but I did it in 4 days. And that just shows that your mindset, if you believe something is going to be long and arduous and hard, it will be. Whereas now I very much embrace the mindset that you can do things with ease and speed. Why shouldn't you get a training business up and running within a few months and be monetized and earning great money? Why shouldn't you be able to do it in the few days a week that you want to? You know, I think challenging our mindset and challenging what we've been taught of everything needs to be difficult. That's certainly what I wished I had had 20 years ago.
Yes, well, yeah, mindset is hugely important. We absolutely get what we believe and think, and so I love that mindset of ease and speed. So on that note, I'll say thank you very much, Judith, for coming today and sharing all this valuable and helpful information. And I know our listeners will have learnt a lot from you. It's from listening to experts like yourself that we can learn so much, and it also helps in realising the benefits that come from working with a trainer or coach, and the impact that can make on changing people's lives. So, as I said earlier, it's been a real privilege to have you on the program.
My pleasure, Karen. Happy to have been here.
Thank you. And so everyone, have a great day, and thank you for listening. Please share this interview with your friends. As I said, I want to help as many women as I can to create the life that they want. So please send in any questions that you would like answered, and you will see Judith's contact details on the intro to this video. So you can contact her and look up the training program and go to her website. All those details will be here on the video for you. So bye for now from Judith and myself, and we'll see you another day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.